1996. We then also became SAMD, which is the South African Management Development Institute, between 1996 and 2007. Then we were called Palama between 2008 and 2013. And now, as the National School of Government, this is the name that you know that started 10 years ago in this particular month that we're celebrating. So it's the 10-year anniversary, and we want to acknowledge the partners that we've been working with. As the PSTF, these are the key people because it's the community of trainers that have been working with us. Okay, sorry. It's the community of trainers that have been with us over the years in helping us deliver the training that is required by our public servants. We've really, truly appreciated the partnerships, the topical discussions, as Tsetsana has alluded over the last 25 years, where we would have discussion and shape the discourse within the public service. We've appreciated your contribution and what you stand for and how you've helped us shape who we are as the National School of Government. We also want to acknowledge our partners that we've been working with in realizing this dream, partners such as SALGA, PSETA, and LGSETA. Some of these partners like PSETA and LGSETA help recognize some of the programs as well, accredit the trainers that we use in delivering our training. So we really wanted to celebrate you and share this moment with us as we see how far we've come as the School of Government. Have you seen with the clips that you've been watching, we've heard from your administrators going through the gates of the NSG to the ministers. Some of the deputy ministers, you have mayors in our platforms that have gone through the NSG and are appreciative of the programs that we've been putting through, the skills that we've been able to impart through there. So we want to welcome you to today as we talk about the executive education, driving sustainable change in the public sector. This is partly targeted at the executive, but we wanted to share with you especially our coordinators, HRD coordinators that are key in making sure that the training does happen. They are the ones that are driving force. They engage and do all the bookings that is required. So they are our first point of call. So we want to share with you what has been happening in this space and give you more information around what is coming up as well. So we hope you enjoy this, this webinar that we're having today as you engage with us. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Pindile Mkwanasi. I hope everyone is now free. We will go to our next speaker. Our next speaker is Ms. Louise Le Pen. Ms. Louise Le Pen is our Chief Director in Senior Management and Professionalization at the NSG. Ms. Louise Le Pen has 35 years of public service experience. She's a professional coach with extensive experience in leadership, development, education, and training. She served in international relations representing South Africa in multilateral and bilateral cooperation. She has an MBA from Wits and a Master's of Diplomatic Studies from UP. Her delight is servicing the leadership pipeline with mentorship and coaching and seeing interns and youth taking up leadership opportunities. Over to you, Ms. Le Pen.
Thank you very much, Program Director. If I can please ask all the participants just to use the response key and just celebrate with me Halala, South Africa, Halala, and the Amaboko who have been so successful last night. Colleagues, it gives me great pleasure to talk to you about our Leading Change program. And if I may be allowed to share my screen. Colson, are you able to see me?
Yes, I am.
Thank you very much. Colleagues, it's a great delight as we're celebrating the National School of Government 10-year celebration. And we are also spotlighting today our executive leadership program. We're also just giving you a little taster of a new program that the school is running out under our portfolio for senior managers and professionalization. This is the program called Leading Change. We support leaders to drive change for improved service delivery. When you come to the course, it gives you an opportunity to invest, renew, and refresh your change leadership skills in a supportive environment with your peers and intergovernmental partners. It is a program where you are given space to practice theory and techniques and simplifying, intensifying the translation from classroom to the work environment. During the course, you can expect to receive feedback and learn from your peers in an energizing and a fun way. Program Director, it's a very difficult environment to be in the public service at the moment. The environment is constrained financially, and there's a huge disconnect between the expectations of our citizens and their lived experience. At the moment, we are struggling with water, electricity, and other constraints limiting our ability to work, both as public servants and to enjoy our lives as citizens. So as a leader, you're called on to inspire, to motivate, to provide strategic direction, and this particular program assists you to tap in a safe and learning environment into these tools. So there are 3 specific areas that you'll be focusing in. It's around behavioral tools and techniques, and you will have experiences that will equip you to deal with change more effectively. You will develop professional relationships with colleagues that you can take into the communities of practice and beyond. And then lastly, it is to spend time in a generative environment that prioritizes learning and growth and provides space to rebuild leadership energy. Program Director, let me just tell you what the program looks like. Over 3 days, we focus on change and me. We take the entire group out into an immersion experience. We debrief the immersion experience, and we then start forming groups. On day 2, we focus on change with others, and having done overnight a learning styles inventory, we then bed down the learning of day 1 through co-learning styles and an RSVP model, which we use that is based on the Gestalt methodology, which focuses on mastery in relationship, mastery in vision, mastery in strategy, mastery in performance, and mastery in presence. And day 3, we then look at leading change and partnering for change, because we don't want the change experience to be a file 13 that is packed away somewhere. We want the change experience to go into the workspace and into the community. So we take you through a simulation experience. We make sure that we bed down the tools and the techniques to drive change in complex systems, and then we set you up for partnership into the future. So Program Director, just briefly, who should attend? Ideally, this program enjoys a mixed group. And many of our HR coordinators will be familiar that the School of Government does work with mixed groups. In this particular program, we advance the national, provincial, and local government officials should attend, ideally cross-sector, so that we can embed the learning across transversal projects in government departments. We recommend a mixed group of 30 senior officials, but we also know through our partner and Tswane Leadership and Management Academy that they've taken numbers up to 60 and more. So in this particular program, we are going to take 30 people. As you've listened to the videos around the executive courses, we've also had feedback on the program. where participants indicate how they've changed, not only in their understanding, their emotional growth, and their decision-making skills. I'm going to pause here for 1 minute, Program Director, and invite colleagues just to take their cameras out and use their cameras for a scan code, and then actually connect with us on this particular program. This QR code is for the session that is taking place in November. That is the 22nd of November to Friday, the 24th of November. If you are unable to be accommodated in the class on these particular dates, you will be invited to join either the Tswane group, which will be the beginning of February, or the National School of Government group, which will be the end of February and the early of March. We will communicate with you directly. Program Director, I'm the program champion and the lead immersion facilitator, but I am joined by an excellent team of facilitators. Ms. Soria Arendt, she is championing the Project Kaedu at the National School of Government. She trains nationally and internationally, and she also is a qualified coach. Mr. Mzi Gaga is our facilitator who trains also on the Kaedu, and he's got an expertise in HRD, and now he's stretching his abilities into the Gestalt methodology. Mr. Mtato Chisa, he's our facilitator from the city of Tshwane, the Tshwane Leadership and Management Academy. He's a development planner with intensive experience in the metropolitan space. Ms. Marty Berg is our facilitator, also a Kaedu facilitator, and she's also training now as a Gestalt facilitator. Ms. Moketi Mahapa is our facilitator from Tshwane, city of Tshwane. She's expertise is in change management and implementing of the Batupeli principles, and she joins our team. Ms. Sarit Kamfer is a trained and qualified integral coach, and she's also served in the local government space. So you might wonder why we have such a big team, a 3-day program with 6 facilitators. This is an intense course that keeps each of the participants fully under eyes. So each of the facilitators will be looking after you as the units of work are being dealt with. Lastly, Program Director, if I could just introduce our mentors. These are the experts in the Gestalt methodology. Our first is Reverend John Pnum. He comes from Ghana. He trains all over the world dealing with the Gestalt methodology. Chantal Wiley, she's based in Germany. She's a South African, and she's a trained coach, and she's also one of the leading facilitators in the Gestalt methodology. Mr. Michael Henderson has a background in National Treasury, and he's also a certified coach and also our mentor in the Gestalt methodology. Lastly, Chairperson, I just want to highlight that this program is run under partnership with National Treasury. The program has been designed, developed with the City Support Program from the National Treasury. It is funded through the Swiss Federation and supported by the World Bank. And we are now cooperating in our partnership with the City of Tshwane, with whom we have a signed memorandum of agreement. This is a completely different program to what you understand our Leading Change courses to be, but through it you will see the direct connection between what the theory is and the competency-based training that the NSG aligns itself to. Program Director, let me please pause there, and I'm open for taking questions. Have a wonderful day, colleagues. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Le Pen, for that extensive explanation of what the course entails. I hope each and every one of us have now a clear view of what the course has, and we will really put our foot forward to come running to do the courses and even inform others who are not here to come and check what we have as the NSG. Thank you very much. The next category would be the impressions and the experiences from our alumni from the education programs, the executive education programs. Therefore, we are going to read their biographies, all 4 of them at the same time, and then their presentations will follow that same order. Thank you. Our next speaker would be Ms. Thulisile Manzini, the Acting Director General, Department of Small Business Development. Ms. Thulisile Manzini's career in public service has spanned more than 22 years. In her various executive roles, she's been successful in transforming organizations marred by intricate challenges and instabilities. She's done so by implementing strategies that contribute positively to good corporate governance, operational efficiency, and administration. She also worked at Brand South Africa as the Acting Chief Executive Officer, a position she has occupied for just over a year. Manzini says, as a public servant, I believe in contributing to a professional and functioning public service that prides itself in providing services in an equitable manner for the betterment of all its citizens, with priority given to the most vulnerable and destitute. At the core of who I am, I want to make the difference in people's lives. The next presenter is Mr. David Maimela, Executive Support to the Vice Chancellor. David Maimela is the founder and Executive Director of Policy Space, a public policy think tank and consulting firm based in Johannesburg, Pretoria, South Africa. He has spent 20 years serving in South African public and the public service as an activist, researcher, academic, policy specialist, consultant, and public service manager. David has extensive experience in public policy, political analysis, international relations, and foreign policy. He is also a writer, a facilitator, public speaker, manager, strategist, whose experience straddles the academic research, civil society, government, and private sectors. David currently serves as non-executive director of the South African Broadcasting Corporation, SABC, trustee of the SABC Medical Aid Scheme, council member of the University of Limpopo, UL, and Mistra Research Fellow, and member of the Mapungubwe Society of Researchers, MMSR. Next one is Mr. Jan Maretz, Director, Entity Oversight at Department of Human Settlements. Good day, Mr. Mohotz. No. We apologize for that error. The next one, we will go to Mr. Councillor Pule Chai, the Executive Mayor of Mopani District Municipality. He was elected as the Executive Mayor of Mopani District Municipality on the 25th of November 2021. He was the first elected as the Executive Mayor of Mopani District on 7 June 2019, completing the term of the 4th Council. He is the chairperson of the African National Congress in the Norman Mashaba region, formerly known as Mopani region. He sits in the Provincial Executive Committee of the African National Congress on an ex officio status. He is also a member of the National Executive Committee of South African Local Government Association, SALGA, where he chairs the National Working Group on Municipal Capability and Institutional Resilience. He received a Master of Business Administration, MBA, in 2022. He holds an honors degree, Bachelor of Arts in Media Studies from UNISA, and he also holds a National Diploma in Public Relations and a Senior Primary Teacher's Diploma. He has a certificate in local government law and municipal administration from the University of Pretoria. He is currently pursuing studies in LLB. Thank you. The presentations will follow suit if we still correcting the biography of Mr. Jan Maretz. Thank you.
Ms. Manzini, you may go ahead.
Thank you very much for the opportunity, and greetings to everyone on the call and all protocol observed. I must start by saying thank you so much for the invitation to reflect on my impressions and experience as a graduate or alumna of the NSG Executive Education Program for the Accounting Officer, which is called ETEL, and it was designed to deepen our leadership insight and diligence in execution of our service to the public under the topic Executive Education, Driving Sustainable Change in the Public Sector, as we celebrate the 10th anniversary of the NSG and look forward to the unveiling of the logo. My presentation is on the screen. And just to say, as part of an introduction to the uninitiated, ETELA is a flagship executive program for accounting officers in the public service, and it is conducted by the NSG, and I was privileged to attend this very important course. Let's proceed. I will be just talking about the value of the program, lesson learned, and I conclude. It was indeed an eye-opener and a singular enriching privilege for me to attend this important course in 2021, like I have said, and particularly also the simulation exercise that we did at the Vonnerbom Airport that brought it home to me that as an accounting officer, to be more specific, I had an enormous responsibility to diligently and with expert acumen pilot the massive public service Boeing I lead to deliver the services of the masses of our people. And the program itself is designed to deepen leadership insight and diligence in executing our services to the public, because we have, as accounting officers, a responsibility to make sure that services are delivered in a proper manner. So this course actually gave us that in a practical manner. And the program topic are taught by reputable experts in the various fields, and which made it interesting because every example that was given, it was an example that was given by people who are experts in the field and were able to interact with other accounting officers and HODs and valuable experiences were then able to take home. And again, the program, it covers a wide range of topics in policy, strategy development and planning, including the simulator that I have already spoken about. So when you are in this class, you actually feel that topics that are being touched even by other colleagues who are there and people who are attending, it makes it easy that you see that the challenges that you are facing as an accounting officer, but again, it's not only yourself, it's also everybody else. We have got different issues and we are able to get solutions because we were then given an opportunity to come back. There were exercises to come back and present. And based on those presentations, it's not only theory, it's things that you are able to take back to the work environment and apply accordingly. So topical issues such as the state capture were also discussed with a view to empower participants with an understanding of various aspects in the public sector leadership. And it was at the time of the state capture, and there were a lot of examples that were used, and we were able to learn from those examples, mistakes that we need to avoid, and again, how to deal with difficult situation if we were to be faced with those other, with the issues that some of the people who appeared at the state capture were faced with, because we have a responsibility to make sure that we apply our policies to the core. Some of the shift in the work-related practices that resulted from participating in the program one is that the issue, again, I cannot overemphasize the issue of the role of accounting officers. A clear distinction was made between the role of accounting officer and the executive authority. So going through this course, by the time you get out of it, you are not confused about the roles. Yes, there are policies in place that clearly define, but when you are sitting in that particular classroom, if I may call it, you are able, by the time you leave there, to understand what is the exact role of accounting officer vis-a-vis the one of the executive. And the executive authority, as we know, is responsible for policy direction, choices and outcome, while the accounting officer implements this by taking responsibility for human, financial, and material resources at his or her disposal. And that is very clear. Also, we have got your PFMA, which clearly defines what is our role. And this unambiguous distinction has gone a long way in ensuring that I, as a person, I clearly understand my lane and clearly defined in law, as clearly defined in law, and execute it without encroaching in that of the executive authority, because sometimes that is what creates a problem. So if you have undergone this particular training or this course, you are able to make sure that each and every one, they have their roles and what is it that is expected from an accounting officer's point of view. Also, again, the connecting the NDP, MTSF, and MTEF and driving organizational strategy. And again, on this one, the NDP's 2030 as part of the broader project of strengthening the capacity of the post-apartheid state and transforming the public sector for efficiency in service delivery is part of the course. And this has helped me to improve my strategic planning capabilities, especially the framing of the strategic objectives. Let's proceed. And again, the issue of understanding of government planning cycle and how one leads into another has helped me to align my activities to drive effective organizational strategies that ensure the realization of the dreams of the people of our country in relation to the department or the state entity that I lead. And again, on change management, leadership, confidence, and managing stakeholders, this specific course, the ETELA, as well as the assignment we had to write, has broadened my understanding of change management as a systematic approach to dealing with the transition or transformation of an organization's goal, processes, or technologies. Because many a times on issues of change management, we come up with good strategies, we come up with good structures, but again, we forget the issue of the human element to make sure that there is that particular shift. So by attending this course again, I was able to then learn that it is an integral part of any plan that you do. The issue of change management should not be left behind. And as a conclusion, I need to say that we're living in a fast mutating public sector environment. And if we do not upskill ourselves, we risk obsolescence. And that is very true. So we need to keep on learning because things are changing. It is also important for public service leadership to view this particular training as part of leading and growing our organization. And hence, I would like to encourage all accounting officers and public servants in general to take advantage of the opportunity to lifelong learning and utilize the NSG as a strategic partner. And we have seen, as the previous speaker was presenting and also showing us all the facilitators, that this is something that we need to take off. All these experts are there to assist us. And I would really like to encourage each and everyone on the platform to really attend. I, for one, the way I came in attending this course and the way I left, I have actually learned a lot. I thank you.
Can we have the next presentation?
Good morning. I don't know if my video shows and whether I'm positioned properly.
Good morning. Yes, sir, we can hear you. Please may I ask that you come closer to the camera?
Oh,
We,
is that okay?
no, we are still not able to see you.
You know, I can't even see myself.
Maybe the camera is not open, Kosa.
Can you
Yeah.
maybe see there's something obstructing your camera? Is there something in the front of your camera?
No, there's nothing.
Okay, not a problem. Let me see if I can just disable your background. Okay, that's not working. Can I maybe ask, sir, that you disable your background, and then in the meantime, we ask that the next speaker continue. Mr. Maritz, Jan Maritz, may you continue while we sort out the technical difficulty with Mr. Maimela? Thank you.
A good morning, Program Director, and good morning, participants. Let me just see if I can load the presentation quickly from my side. Can you see the
Full screen?
presentation?
Yes, we can. Please go to full screen mode. At the top, to the left. There we go. Click. Thank
Yes,
you. You
good
may
morning,
continue.
everybody, and thanks to the National School of Government to invite us to this session. We are very excited to share this and celebrate with you the achievement of this milestone of your 10-year anniversary. I'm from the Department of Human Settlements. I'm responsible for entities oversight. I think in the interest of time, let me just skip to the content of the presentation. Maybe just as a background, I want to indicate that with us, we've got 6 public entities that report to the Minister of Human Settlements, the Community Schemes Ombudsman Service, the Property Practitioners Regulatory Authority, we've got the Housing Development Agency, the National Housing Finance Corporation, the National Home Builders Registration Council, as well as the Social Housing Regulatory Authority. And all of them have got governing bodies in terms of their own enabling legislation, except for the National Housing Finance Corporation that's established in terms of the Companies Act. We went through the process during the 2021 financial year, where we replaced 4 of these boards in that 1 year. So we had new boards, and the other 2 followed in the year thereafter, in 2022. And as is our practice, we do want to induct the boards, and in the past it's been an issue for us. Every time we get to this point, we then have to grapple about how to structure the program, who to invite, what are the topics to be able to discuss, etc. And then when we learned that National School of Government do offer a program that could assist us in this regard, and we felt that we would want to make use of National School of Government to assist us in this regard. So we've done that. And in terms of the program, I must say, okay, there are other bodies that we also have. The Office of Disclosure, there we've got an oversight body that basically look at or try to prevent discrimination in terms of the extension of home loans, and also in terms of the Sectional Title Schemes Management Advisory Council. We have a body there that is supposed to provide advice in terms of the legislation, not only the Sectional Title Schemes Management Act, but also in terms of the Community Schemes Ombudsman Service Act. They also had to be replaced during the 2022 financial year. Now, in terms of the program of NSG, what we liked about it is really the structure, and the fact that you have a pre-attendance reading that gets issued to the members who attended the training. There are activities that's also provided, and that allows for the attendees to really start to engage on the topic. It really lays the foundation for them to understand what governance is all about, and start to get them to think about all the different aspects thereof, so that by the time they get to the actual training, which is the second part of the program, they are able to really engage, and they already have the foundation, so they can add on to their primary knowledge that they have, build onto that, and really ask questions that they feel they need to ask to really get into depth into understanding what they will be dealing with. Then the third part, of course, is the community of practice that gets established thereafter, where you meet after they now have the practical experience and really implementing the knowledge that they've learned. You may still find at that point in time that there are certain things that you want to discuss. Maybe you as a group, as a governance group, you may come across certain issues that you felt that you were grappling with. You don't really know how to deal with it, or maybe there were different avenues that you could choose from, and you don't know which one is the best one. And I really think that the community of practice really assisted them in this regard. I think that is also unique in terms of other programs you may find out there that you may not have this component. So you really are able to tap into the knowledge, not only of NSG themselves, but they also have a network of participants and people that they know in the industry, and they can share that knowledge with you. They can bring their partners on board also to bring about, that exceptional knowledge that you need to be able to perform your function effectively. Now, in terms of the content of the program, I think it was very relevant, the way that it's structured. Public sector is different from other boards in the private sector. You've got the PFMA, and they were able to zoom into that in terms of legislative content. You have the Preferential Policy Framework Act that you really have to deal with in terms of the public sector. They were on top of the game in terms of that. They know the legislation that's really applicable and specific for public sector governance bodies. They were able to really explain very well the relationship in terms of the leadership, not only the executive authority, but also in terms of their relationship with the executive management that they have to deal with, what their role is, what is the role of the executive management to really, establish those lines, so that you don't have duplication and uncertainty as to what is each one supposed to do. Then also in terms of the planning and reporting for public sector, it's very specific. There was in terms of the frameworks that's there, how planning should be done, and they know about these frameworks. They're able to educate the board members about this, so they know exactly what to do in terms of budgeting as well. We have a specific budgeting profile in terms of public service. They were able to go into that and to also share that knowledge with the board members, so they are clear as to how these processes work. What are the benefits for us from attending the program of the NSG? Well, I think firstly, the effective participation of board members in the board committee meetings. In other words, when they step into really performing the role, they do have the foundational education that helps them to be able to perform their function from day one. So you have less questions of clarity, and you have more performance that you expect from the board. They are able to fulfill their role from day one because they know what they are expected to do. Secondly, of course, is the value for money. Because they are able to function from the onset that they are appointed, they are able to earn the money that they get paid in order to perform the role. There's less time that's wasted to get clarity, get understanding what are they supposed to do. They know exactly what they're supposed to do, what is expected of them. Then you also have the improved relationship with the executive management, because you know your role, you know what is the lines, you know what is expected of executive management, and therefore there is role clarity. Everybody knows what they're expected to do, and that also helps the executive management to perform their function effectively as well. There's of course the increased benefit for the public at large. As the board members, they operate on the principles of equity, cost efficiency, sustainability. They know all the principles that they're supposed to comply with. They know the laws and regulations that they're supposed to operate within. They understand the strategic role that they have to play, and that is to the benefit of the public and the public entity that's supposed to serve the public. Also, the program is delivered by experts in the field of governance, not only because of the experts that work for the School of Governments, but as I've also indicated a bit earlier on, in terms of their network of experts that they know in the field on specific topics that they're able to bring into the program so that you can get that expertise as well. I think that's really great that they're able to do that. So you don't only get the local experience, but you also get experience from outside, and also in terms of international best practice. I think that the governance field is a dynamic field, and therefore you need to be able to understand it and keep your fingers on the tabs to be able to know where are the new developments. And in this regard, NSG is great because they do have contacts, they do the research, they understand the topics that different board members are grappling with, and they are able to connect with international experts, bring them in, have discussions on particular topics like risk management and financial markets. And I think that's really great, and it serves as great benefit for anybody that attends this program. And I think lastly also, it's important to note that the attendees receive a certificate when they complete this training course, that they can also have a record of the training that they've provided, and that they can also reflect on in future when they serve on other boards as well. I think that's really useful for them. And that's the end of my presentation. Thank you very much.
The next presentation.
Thank you very much, Program Director. I need to extend my greetings to my fellow panelists, as well as my colleagues that have joined on the platform. I think I take the honor, Program Director, and privilege to be part of this auspicious occasion to celebrate a decade long of the National School of Government and its impactful effort to build ethical state capacity through both accredited and unaccredited programs. My reflection, Program Director, on my learning journey is grounded in the ethical leadership and the oversight executive program that I undertook with the school, which has proved to be very much relevant, particularly in my capacity as the executive mayor, which I hold a view that it contributed in promoting a culture of effective oversight and ethical leadership as envisaged in the Constitution. Of course, practically grappling with the call for the executive ethics code in the local government space, the imperatives of your PFMA, the FMFA, and other relevant prescripts. This have allowed me to particularly execute my role and responsibilities more diligently as a leader. But more than that, Program Director, it's internalizing my capacity to proceed to lead capacitation in local government through SALGA programs, which seeks to ensure that we experience municipal resilience and capabilities given the challenging conditions of the time. You might as well want to recall, Program Director, that through DPSA, while one was still in the ministry, we walked the transition practically during Palama, a journey and the memories, contribution, which I think we still cherish, because given what the NSG is continuing to ground amongst public servant or the public sector in general, we hold a view that the executive education for the public sector has become a practice of leadership, which should become a high calling and requires ongoing learning to sharpen our skills in the public sector, but also improve our core competencies and strengthen our capacity to innovate for the sake of the future. We should, the Program Director, never lose sight of the significance of equipping elected public officials with the skills and competencies necessary to produce public policies and values that put citizens first and prosper the state. That is why, Program Director, the NSG plays a significant role in this regard, as it is mandated with the responsibility of ensuring that public servants comply with the provisions of established legislation and regulations, prevailing systems, but as well can exercise proper discretions and innovation in solving routine and complex service delivery challenges. So to me, Program Director, the NSG has been delivering a range of executive programs for many years in response to the increasing demand within the public institution for relevant, high-quality executive education and related learning opportunities. To me, those are aimed at attracting participants from the political and administrative levels of government across the country and the region. So high-level masterclasses, if I recall, have been attended by senior political leaders, senior public servant officials, and a range of senior level public officials. Now, we do that, Program Director, because our democratic dispensation has fought hard to establish administrations that are qualified, fit for purpose, and people-centered at all spheres of government. And we continue to pursue efforts that establish a reputable and capable state. Now, if you were to bring it home to the sphere closest to the people, where some of us are finding relevance, the local government, we know that sustainable change for our communities relies on a well-capacitated, ethical, and professional leadership within municipalities. So it is in this spirit that SALGA, which I have the privilege to share through the working group, continues to partner with the NSG in the professionalization of local government and advocating for municipal leaders to participate and partake in the NSG executive programs, which I enrolled, successfully completed. But there is value add from the programs that are delivered through NSG, because we should see the executive education as a vehicle for continuous professional development for public sector, raising the standard for elected leadership and empowering them to become better decision makers, people managers, and supporters of strategic goals. So to me, Program Director, learning is the core differentiator of growing economies, and lifelong learning is the key to ensuring sustainability. Create opportunities to pause, and reflect, and realign our ways of working to better respond to the changing need of the communities we serve. Now, if you were to look at the research conducted by the Project Management Institute, which led to the development of Model for Sustainable Change, which put executive leadership at the top. This model was developed for organization, and the same can be held true that is also developed for public sector institutions in general, including municipalities. Where leadership is equipped and skilled, the effectiveness of our work is felt in the lived experience of those who are at the receiving end of implemented strategic plans. Adequately equipped leaders are able to translate strategic visions into actionable plans, decisively lead administrations in the interest of citizens, and be of service using their strength. Therefore, a focus on sustainable change in the public sector must look beyond simply effecting the change and deal with the potential for the sector to regress. There is, of course, Program Director, the tendency to get comfortable in our areas of responsibility, even when the realities call for the paradigm shift. Therefore, the executive education program for the public sector must beckon us out of complacency by introducing us to innovative approaches and equipping us with the required skills to confront the complexities of the socio-economic condition within which we discharge our responsibilities. So at this 10-year celebration, I wish the NSG another decade of success in developing state capacity. May its journey of growth sustain a public sector that is reputable and entrenched in ethical leadership. So I wish to invite, together with my panelists, everyone else to participate robustly in the discussion during the open week and utilize the platform to learn and share our own experience. With that said, we wish you a very enriching and fruitful deliberation with positive outcome. Danke, ngiyabonga.
Thank you very much, Councillor Shai. At this moment, we will go for our last presentation from Mr. David Maimela. Are you ready, Mr. David?
Yes, yes, facilitator, but I think my video is still facing challenges. I don't know if it's okay if I proceed without the video.
You may continue.
Okay, thanks. Thank you so much, colleagues. Really, it's quite a great opportunity and a great moment for us to meet this morning to consider and celebrate quite a very important milestone of the NSG. Facilitator, I'm going to speak just to 3 issues and then close. The first one really is to congratulate the National School of Government for achieving 10 years of existence as the National School of Government. I actually had a small debate with the principal the other day when I saw the video, the celebratory video of the school doing rounds. And I was saying that maybe the colleagues in the school have had a debate about whether are we celebrating 10 years or 30 years. So in my head, I think that it could be more than 10 years, but yeah, I guess that's the debate that that we could have here or inside the school itself. But yeah, congratulations for the 10 years. I think that one of the things that have come out quite clearly and boldly in recent years is basically the change in terms of the course of direction of the school, the change in terms of content, the change in terms of the energy and the style in which the school carries itself and how it actually reaches out to various individuals and entities in the public sector to make sure that we are all empowered to take up our responsibilities in whatever capacity that we serve the public in. So for that, really, we want to congratulate the entire team at NSG for really repositioning this important institution of our people so that it can really contribute to our national development goals. So congratulations, not only for reaching that 10 years, but also, most importantly, the change that we see in terms of the energy, the content, the direction and the style of your teaching and learning programs. I've also noted that increasingly, the school has become really good at building partnerships that are far and wide, both locally and internationally, which tend to benefit the school, but also most importantly benefit the students that actually go through the school in terms of their training programs. So this actually is to return back to the source, if you consider it closely, that there is no academic or training institution that can succeed without strategic partnerships. And I think that the NSG is doing that quite very well, because remember, knowledge by its very nature is actually sourced from the community, and it is through partnerships with individuals, organizations, and communities that we can pursue, package, distribute, and share this knowledge that we have. We also want to congratulate really the NSG for being the agency that is actually given the responsibility to professionalize the public service. The professionalization framework is actually put at the doorstep of the NSG, and as the key champion and driver of this very important program. It's not that, and I've said this when we were still busy with debating the framework in one of the workshops, that I always prefer to say the effort to professionalize the public service has actually not started with the framework. The professionalization of the public service has always been with us, but now it has been given new directions and new impetus to really gather speed and get into a different type of direction. Then the second point that I want to talk about really for me is to really thank the National School of Government for providing training services and meeting my training needs at least at two levels. The first one being it's specialized training in terms of some of the training that we've done, and also some exploratory training that gives you a bit of a comparative kind of perspective between how we actually deal with poverty and development here in South Africa, as well as in other jurisdictions such as China and so on. And I think that that type of specialized training is quite very important. Then, of course, we've had executive training programs, which also includes, from my perspective and experience, which also includes board training. As someone who serves one or two of these public entities that exist in our country, and I think that training, as my fellow colleague from the Department of Human Settlement was saying, I'm not going to repeat what he said. What he actually said is actually definitely the content and the exposure that we get from the National School of Government. So really, we would really want to congratulate and thank the NSG for actually giving the other schools in our universities across the country a run for their money, because really it's quite a very competitive and a tough space where you have to sometimes compete for this. And all of these efforts have increased participation in the programs of the NSG, but also not only increased participation, but they've also increased the legitimacy and the reputation of the National School of Government. Then the last area really for me would, which is the third area, is to speak about two areas of change that I think the NSG has or is continuously trying to influence in the public policy space and in the execution of public programs. The first one is what every colleague has spoken about already, which is the very important and urgent task to build and continue to rebuild and renew our state into a capable and an ethical state. And I think this is quite important. And the twin brother of this task, I would refer to them as twin tasks of change for the NSG insofar as training and education needs are concerned. It's the building of a capable state and the industrialization and economic transformation program. So without these two areas, and if you look at the past 30 years, this is one area where our state has sort of struggled to actually get things going at a faster and at the depth at which we actually want them to go. So building a capable state is not an option for South Africa and for the African continent or the global South. There is no, as Mariana has said, and many other heterodox economists out there, they have highlighted that throughout the history of economic development in any jurisdiction in the world, the role of the state in the development process cannot be undermined, and that it doesn't matter whether we live in the 21st century where the fourth industrial revolution is gathering pace, where the capitalist mode of production is rampant, where market forces are really at play and influencing all sorts of policy directions, both in the private and the public sector, and the interface between the two. So it doesn't matter where you are, it doesn't matter which sector you are, it doesn't matter what ideological orientation you come from. The fact of the matter is that the state, whether you look at America, you look at Asia, you look at Africa, the state has been and continues to be central in the development process. And even in its withdrawal form, even when the state withdraws from the development process, that in itself is intervention, it's state intervention. So what we really need to work on, among other things, in terms of building this capable state, for me, is the area where we actually build, where we build, formidable economic governance models that straddles all sectors of society, or all key sectors of society, by making sure that all our institutional frameworks, be it regulatory or policy or legislative institutions, coupled with monitoring institutions, coupled with executing institutions, such as the SOEs and so on. All of these institutional arrangements have to come together to make sure that we actually leverage out of the talent, the ideas, and the resources that are at our disposal. Then, of course, the last point would be on the industrialization and the economic transformation program. In the end, I think that there is a close relationship between the two. So there's no capable developmental and ethical state without an industrial policy and without an industrial program to actually get as many of our people as possible into the economy, so that we can grow the economy, grow the pie, and make sure that the quality of life of our people changes. Now, without industrializing our country and without the state being at the forefront of that effort, in terms of the policy directions and the focus areas, the points of emphasis, and the support that is required for industries out there, you cannot. I mean, if you look at some of the reports that are coming from the Competition Commission, for instance, the highly concentrated nature of our economy continues to be one of the key structural impediments that actually make sure that we do not achieve economic inclusion, that we do not achieve the realization of production, of introduction of new players in markets, the the building of companies, of industries, of sectors, simply because of the concentrated nature of our economy. So I think that this effort that the NSG contributes on in terms of our training needs and training services on the capable state and the industrialization program is quite an important one. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Mr. David Maimela. Our next speaker is Professor Millie Paile. Professor Millie Paile is a Chief Director for Education Management and Leadership Support in the NSG. Her roles include the co-design and provision of management and leadership development interventions for senior officials and executives. She draws from her experiences in teaching and learning services in the Gauteng Department of Education, open and distance learning and curriculum and instructional design at the University of South Africa, program management and quality assurance in the early years of the NSG. She facilitates conversations and thematic seminars that promote joint critical reflection and peer learning in context of service. Millie has a keen interest in practitioner research and has led strategy and program review, as well as institutional research projects at various institutions. She publishes on topics relating to education and leadership praxis. You can see the link there where you can go there to check on her topics. Millie holds a PhD from the University of Pretoria. Her doctoral research in the field of humanities education focused on the discourse of public service leadership. She is an extraordinary professor in the School of Government Studies at the Northwest University, where she supports postgraduate teaching and research. Professor Millie, over to you.
Ms. Program Director, good day, good morning, Lachani, Molweni. Once I share my screen, I will just say what a great pleasure it is to hear firsthand from our alumni that even though the capacity building development journey is long, what we intend to do through our offerings is approximated in the experiences, the impressions from their learning engagements with us.
Prof. Paile, apologies to interrupt. You're sharing the wrong screen. You are sharing the screen with notes and not the full presentation slide.
I'm sharing the wrong screen.
Yeah. Please stop sharing and then yeah.
All right, so I've stopped sharing.
Yeah, now we can go to full
Thank
screen.
you.
Thank you.
May I proceed now?
Yes, you may. Full screen and then you can proceed. Thank you.
I'm trying to put it on full screen mode. Okay, for some reason, I will just keep to this mode. Sorry about that. I think stuck between the two, yeah. So this, because it's going to be shared, I deliberately include the background to the NSG. We don't have to go through this here and now, but it's the kind of messaging that would like you to hear over and over about the connection between what we set out to do on the basis of our mandate and the scope of our work and what it is that you can expect from us as we traverse the journey together. And this is one of those memorable reminders about the kinds of values, the kinds of capabilities that we envisage for the entire public sector ecosystem. From our faculties, you heard earlier from my colleague, Ms. Lepan. She's in the Senior Management and Professionalization faculty, and I'm in the Executive Management and Leadership Support. A lot of what we do is intended to service particular occupational categories. However, there is natural overlapping, which you'll see even as we focus on executive education provisions. In a way of perhaps reflecting why we focus on executives and who are these? From the perspective of the public administration makeup, we could say first and foremost comes the idea of members of the executive. So technically, there's the elected component together with members of the legislature, but in function through institutional arrangements, we have members of executive teams led by DGs, HRDs, CEOs, and the like. And so the two together cannot be separated. And our focus is exactly with that kind of leadership, governance, functions, and responsibilities that are supported from both angles. So I'll touch on these elements in an integrated manner, maybe with emphasis on one more than others. And what you have heard already in our reflections with our alumni are examples that show us that our interests and concerns are not a localized issue. Globally, through a perspective such as this one, we all have a concern with social, economic, technical, environmental issues. Government being at the forefront by virtue of what government sets out to be like. And so those who make up and who constitute the institutions, the teams, and the functions within public administration, within government, have to have certain skills, knowledge sets, value sets, and more, so that the aspirations are taken forward and are realized. One of the ways is through provision of executive education. Writing in 2014 already, you will not see so much of a focus on qualifications, and that's one of the reasons we foreground this, as much as the competence in areas of transversal networking, innovation, creating communities, not just of knowledge, we can expand to say of inquiry, of practice, as you've already heard, and of innovation in shifting dynamic spaces. So, executive education, long tradition, especially in business schools, in universities, but we working in very closely related, integrated, intertwined spaces, private, public, and the artificial divide is really thinning because we're all in the same societal context. So those who are busy, who have enormous weight of leadership and governance responsibilities, usually are the ones who are missing in continuing education spaces. So executive education, by its design, keeps that in mind to say, how do we attract them, enable them to draw from each other as peers, the wisdom that they bring, whilst at the same time replenishing the outlook, their ways of thinking, of innovating, of looking at issues, problems, solutions. So in general, executive education programs or offerings are intensive, and they suit those who would otherwise not have come to a long drawn-out, year-long, 3-year program, because by intention, they are not necessarily meant to be a qualification-oriented provision. The kinds of issues, the kinds of concerns, opportunities, as mentioned from our alumni, are such that by them coming together, we have a beginning of facing in one direction, even though it is not too standardized and to stifle creativity and innovation. In the NSG environment, although we launched the executive education portfolio last year in June, this was not to mark the beginning of those offerings. Rather, it was to remind ourselves that we are conscious of our expanded scope and we're building on what already exists, and you will see examples of these. And we did not wait until there is necessarily a directive, is necessarily cabinet approval. We induce such. We actually walk the interest to say, here are target audiences that would be missing, not because they do not like to be in learning spaces and in peer engagement environments, but without concerted effort to bring them once in a while, as the principal would say, back to the simulator. Their experiences are diffused, they take interest, they go wherever they go, but there isn't a containment and a harvesting of the kinds of perspectives and wisdom from them. So with the 6th administration and beyond, themes such as capability, ethics, development will be here to stay. Collaborative development in the same sense as collaborative service provision will be the mainstay public administration. Without overstaying our mandate, not just from the Public Service Act, but from Constitution and the PAMA, points to an expansion into all the organs of state, not just 3 spheres of government by department and organization, as well as the legislative sector. So target audiences, therefore, will entail HODs, their equivalents, members of the executive, members of the legislature, as well as those public servants in senior roles and in occupational specialization areas that support the strategic thrust of the organizations. So this is to say, not to worry, the detail that you'll see here will be supplemented by the brochures, the information leaflets per program. So we'll provide these as individual program details. But for now, what you see highlighted in orange exists. What you see highlighted in blue is forthcoming, and forthcoming as in now and into early financial year 2024. So with a bit of overlap, and it's encouraged, new appointees, senior officials, executives, as well as other cross-cutting functional strategic roles as separate, but also as combined entity groups come to one or more of these, as you've heard from one of our alumni. Then we also don't leave out traditional leaders as part of our elected segment. The EIP, well established by now, you as HRD practitioners and managers play a very important role here already, ensuring that there is no one whose probation cannot be confirmed because they omitted to be in the EIP. So by directive, we live up to the intents of this program, and having its history within the NSG from the early days of 2016-17, and the permutations of virtual contact sessions coupled with online learning and coaching sessions, they make the composite arrangement of the EIP. We have 2 intakes so far. The rhythm might change if necessary. We've just completed for the 2023 September contact session, leading to coaching exploration. Next year, March, the iteration continues with another intake. So there is flexibility. Some might miss a certain element during the window, and we are able to help them catch up in the next window. Induction program for boards, lovely expressions from human settlements as an example. And these really are affirmations that as far as possible, it is so much more useful to have whole entities, the whole organizational capacity development benefit than to have 1, 2 sporadic attendees. That, however, will not ever be discouraged. Different circumstances might perhaps mitigate against the whole institutional enrollment, but that is exactly what helps sustain ongoing embedding of the insights. This is a snippet we show from time to time, and it grows. So in mixed groups, in full in-house cohorts, in some cases, this is the kind of work that we have done, approximating around 49, 50 by now of such entities. And if you think of it, any board for that matter, however small, wherever it exists, as long as it's in the public sector, will benefit from our offering. And you've heard already that we draw from the wise ones. So we have the privilege of accessing the thinking, interpretation, the explanations from the, let's say from the sources, such as Professor Mervyn King and Prof. Michael Kerrs, former and current serving chairs of boards, and what human settlements enabled us to do is to experiment with them in the nature that we have designed of online component self-study, contact session for peer learning, continuing independent and team project-oriented work, and coming together once in a while to say, how are we doing? Where are we facing? Why? What else could we do differently? And creating that lively, ongoing conversation that is practice-led, but also embedded in the thorough understanding of the origins of whatever perspectives are influencing the practice. EDELA, you've heard about, 8-module flagship leadership development program, accounting officers, accounting authorities. So in an ideal way, once senior officials newly appointed have come through the EIP, they automatically should enroll them for EDELA. And there is the real simulator to which they go. So this is how we started, and we have the next intake as indicated. So we rely on you to support, help mobilize, clarify the understanding, bring that sense of agency and born out of what the program promises and what the experiences in the alumni testimonials also points to. So 6th of November is around the corner. We have a 3-day arrangement dealing with just the first 4 essential modules. Then this time we're allowing independent study and activities to then unfold behind the scenes, supported through online activities, and then a coming together prior to going to the simulator. So we have that kind of integrated project reporting. I'll hop a little faster on some of these ones. You heard about international partnerships, and this is one of, again, flagship partnership arrangements with the University College London, supported through partnerships and sponsorships that make program affordable. Otherwise, very few of our participants and our senior officials would be in class. And thanks to also our collaboration with National Treasury, there is big encouragement for provincial cohorts to participate. Cross-cutting offerings, these are examples. So you don't have to be by title an executive, a DG. In some of these, we allow for that kind of cross-pollination, that kind of agency to also emerge from within the ranks from particular strategic contributions. Executive Mayor spoke to this program in particular, and we also have it in a very exciting way. Over 3 days, it has a lovely element of a role play of a performance management dialogue, resulting in real critique of what stands in the way and what are the success factors towards a developmental performance management relationship between executives and accounting officers, accounting authorities. This is an exciting one, also part of that cabinet statement. You'll see it reappears as we go, because certain programs were mentioned by name, and this was one of them. starting humbly, but so successfully in 2020, and transitioning to the 2021 winter, where we could only be virtual and unleashing one more time in person. And we had a continental intake in 2023, in 2022, and 2023, we had a bilateral cohort with Kenya. So case studies, comparative expert inputs, site visits, panel discussions, these being some of the methodologies and strategic engagement approaches. Some of these we deliberately put in your face because these are the people that you have to support to make their continuing executive education possible. And what is great is many of them, like you've heard from our alumni, don't just attend once, they come for another iteration on other themes, and they don't just come for themselves, they also bring their senior management teams, and they understand what it means to lead from an informed point of view. Traditional leaders, traditional communities are the bedrock also of our society, and we take interest in walking the path with them. We do not have to be ourselves specialists in their day-to-day work, in their structures, in their systems. However, we're all interconnected, and we encourage and stimulate those kinds of conversations that open up each other's world too. It's not just about me in my local village or in my community. What we do connects to the whole ecosystem, socially, locally, globally. Gives me pleasure again to say this one is happening not next year, but at the end of October. And with SALGA, with cooperative governance and traditional affairs, we really look forward to, through you, this engagement that will be taking place in Pretoria, not just for mayors. Yes, the focus is on mayoral leadership, but through the team arrangement, structures arrangement, we need as many of those who also play into the space to be there, because it is not about theorizing issues and problems. It is using particular tools, particular perspectives to help unleash the potential within and untapped possibilities to solve these problems sustainably, to build thriving local communities. For councillors, members of the legislatures, we have a long history, and for now we're just showcasing just these two. And with the LGSETA as our partner, this local government leadership development program is officially a program that leads to a qualification. There's more detail about that you may obtain. Last but not least, our masterclass series, and we will let the pictures speak for themselves, showcasing that it is for everybody and leading by example, right from citizen number one through to people like you and I. We have no excuse not to be learning-oriented, development-oriented, so that we become those kinds of public servants with that value set that we aspire to. So these are available, and those of you who keep in touch by our social media platforms, it's a click away for you to enroll or to pass on the invitation to those target audiences for which, for which the priority might, for that occasion, be meant. Impact or effect, this is of interest to us, and that's why we do want to know how relevant, how useful was the learning engagement for you. The opening snippets, these are the links there too. And from the NSG side, we have found that if we have, through the target audience enrollment, right from the beginning, we have the intended target group supported by conducive environments in the workplace, in the environment of service. then you have the beginnings of the winning combination towards application, towards impact, because it cannot be the NSG carrying the burden without the organizational leadership and context meeting the embedding of the insights gained. As we refine, we seek to expand our learning offerings, and we still want to be sure that we remain relevant, and relevance will mean different things because we have different contexts, different audiences from time to time, but there are certain mainstays in the creation, the co-creation, and the co-facilitation with subject specialists, academia, and practice, various sectors. And as we expand, we also rely on programming support through the relevant structures. So we'll know when cabinet is on, parliament is on recess, we'll know the calendar, the program of FOSET, and we'll try to align around that. But in the large majority of our participants, calendar dates, such as you have seen that are already out there, we encourage you to support that so that we don't have too many of small shifts that require formation of mixed groups that take much longer to realize. Tariff structure by National Treasury is such that we do not have undue burden of cost placed on individuals and on departments, but even more importantly, the NSG proactively, long before the phrase containment resurfaced this time, we are mobilizing partnerships, and it is also for the technical support and sponsorship benefits that we do this. Somebody spoke about what higher education institutions are doing, especially business schools, and we're saying there is a place for the NSG in this environment. And on the outer layer, you'll see our sponsors up to now, such as the banks, such as National Treasury, enterprises, and even public sector entities. So to conclude, just to signpost to you sometime later this week as part of this open week of the NSG, look out for a theme on partnerships, and you will hear more about what we are doing, not just on the continent, but across the world, and what could be of interest to you. And as mentioned, keep in touch with us through our website and our social media platforms. In conclusion, we really thank you for being the enablers, managers, and coordinators of public sector education, training, development, spearheading our intentions and realizing our envisaged outcomes through, amongst others, the professionalization framework and the executive education offerings. A big thank you to everybody.
Thank you very much, Professor Paile. We are now getting to our next presenter, Mr. Miti. Mr. Miti is a Chief Director and head of the Western Cape Training Institute. His public service career started in 1980 as an educator. He then the school principal and circuit manager. He joined the Senior Management Service as a director in the Northern Cape Education Department in 1998, and then as a chief director in the Western Cape Education Department in 2001, and the head of the Western Cape Training Institute in 2010. Ndoisile holds a BA degree from UNISA, a B.Ed from WETS, and an M.Ed at University of Free State, and a higher secondary teacher's diploma at UFH. Ndoisile is passionate about the development of people and lives by the motto, change is inevitable. Growth is optional, from John C. Maxwell. Over to you, Mr. Miti.
Thank you very much, Program Director, and thanks to everybody who is on the platform and who is there. I also just want to add my congratulations to Sia Kulisi and the boys. As you can see, I'm still wearing the shirt. It was a nail-biting one, and I want to congratulate the boys. Thank you very much for this opportunity, and I think I've said good morning to everybody who is participating in this NSG 10-year anniversary event with the theme Executive Education Driving Sustainable Change in the Public Service. Thanks, Program Director, for affording me the opportunity then to offer a response to this theme from a PSTF perspective. Colleagues, what I'm going to do, I'm going to talk on 3 or 4 main items. The first one I want to talk to is the value and importance of executive development programs. Then I want to talk about the role of the Public Sector Trainers Forum, or the PSTF, and then talk about professional development being linked to service delivery, and then end off by just referring to the role of higher education institutions and other partners in development. Right, thank you very much. So I want to go to my first slide there. Thank you very much. If you just give me a minute to get my stuff ready here. Colleagues, executive development programs for the South African public sector are crucial in fostering effective governance, leadership, and sustainable development. These programs equip leaders and decision makers with the knowledge and skills needed to make informed decisions, drive positive change, navigate complex challenges, foster innovation, and enhance organizational effectiveness, ultimately leading to better governance and service delivery for the benefit of the citizens and the society as a whole. By investing in executive development, South Africa can enhance its capacity to address socio-economic issues, promote good governance, and propel the nation towards a better and brighter future. If you can go to the next slide. I just want to then refer to the role of the public service, the Public Sector Trainers Forum. Next slide, please. Thank you. The Public Sector Trainers Forum, or the PSTF, which was established in 1997 as a non-statutory body to advocate human resource development within the public service, has positioned itself as the main networking platform utilized by more than 1,000 training practitioners across all spheres of government. It is a practitioner forum that is being viewed by the management development institutes on the continent as a best practice. The strategic goal of the PSTF is to create and maintain strategic and collaborative platforms that promote the achievement of the public sector human resource development mandates, and then locate HRD as strategic partner and an enabler to the core development agenda of the government. The PSTF structure provides peer learning exchange platforms for collaborative interaction towards improved relations and organizational performance. Trainers and HRD practitioners of national, provincial, and local government departments often engage in peer learning exchange platforms to share their experience of supporting capacity building efforts. From these reflections, they explore ways of intensifying skills development interventions that are necessary to help public sector employees to improve their know-how and thus the quality of service to the public. In this way, the PSTF supports and enriches executive education programs. If we can go to the next slide. I have borrowed this slide, colleagues, from the presentation on the professionalization of the public service. It talks about professional development being linked to service delivery. Now, development is important for excellent leadership. David earlier on referred to a developmental state. An organization is as good as its people and its leaders. And therefore, these professional development programs that are earmarked for the executive are important to get our country in the correct trajectory and for service delivery. And then the next one, to be relevant, continuous professional development is necessary. Otherwise, we will lag behind and become irrelevant. And then as far as the performance is concerned, we must perform by doing what needs to be done to uplift our society. The NSG ensures our people and leaders are ready through induction and onboarding programs that Millie referred to earlier on. I don't want to go there because that has already been spoken about at length. In order to be a functional organization, we must continue with management and skills development programs, as I said earlier on, to remain relevant. All these areas then are linked to service delivery, which is so sorely needed in our country. If we can then go on to the next slide, I want to talk about the role of the HEIs, or the higher education institutions. The PSTF supports efforts of the National School of Government to offer executive development programs in partnership with national and international higher education institutions. And as Millie also said earlier on, there are many other partners that the NSG works with. And as the PSTF, we support and applaud those efforts by the National School of Government. And they also lead to an advanced understanding of the role of the state in driving inclusive, innovative, and sustainable growth, as well as ethical leadership. These programs are facilitated by seasoned current and former public service professionals, and I think that has also been referred to earlier on. And as the PSTF, we applaud and welcome these efforts by the NSG to make use of public service officials who have been, through their paces, who know what is happening in the public service. Now, in conclusion, Program Director, we want to congratulate the NSG on its 10-year anniversary, and we wish that you continue to strive to set the benchmark for public service development, not only nationally or on the continent of Africa, but also internationally. And I want to congratulate you. Program Director, thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Muti. As we are heading for the end of our program, as we can see, time is on our side, it's not on our side anymore. Then we are going to open up for questions if there are, but those that are on the chat, the relevant speakers have already responded to. And as we are still waiting for those, we don't see anything. I don't see anything on the chat for now, or any hand raised to ask questions. We can go through what our speakers and presenters were saying to us as a take home. We heard the alumni saying that there were challenges that they had when they came to the executive education sessions. Then before they left, they were equipped. So because they had to come back for sessions that they had to role play, they had to do simulators, and they had to show that they understand the role of accounting officers and executive officers in their different institutions. So when they left, we heard that they were really equipped and ready to go. And they even saying the interactive sessions that they had with members of the boards, they assisted them to govern, to value their roles, and even to start looking at the international best practice and start looking at the new developments and to practice them. Here we are. Before I can go further, let me check if there are any hands. There's no one for now. There is one question from the chat. It says, could we perhaps obtain an update on the implementation of the framework for professionalization of the public sector? Professor Paile, may you kindly respond to the question?
Oh, thanks for the question. Yes, I spotted it and I thought our DDG might touch on it. So it's not a once and what is it? Touch on what is it? One. Yeah, I'm trying to say it's a living framework and it unfolds. It's not a once-off success enterprise. Part of it, as you may have seen, we could even say its major thrust is around 5 pillars, right from recruitment through to elements that we spoke to of continuing professional development, touching on PMDS and beyond. So each of those pillars will have an element of development, progress, some of which is already underway. Others would require some revisiting, re-looking into existing systems and processes. And PMDS is one of those, because you cannot read the National Framework towards the professionalization of the public sector on its own without reference to existing legislation, existing directives, and cross-sector provisions. So it's a broad question, that one. And let's see, like I said, throughout the week, there are certain focused topics to which you are invited, and you can re-enter the space and hear how far we're going. So on what could be standardized, what could be made compulsory, that's already one way of saying these are the building blocks towards that professionalization. We spoke in the executive education portfolio about induction program for boards. If EIP exists for a target audience of the typical public service, then induction program for boards could be a similar one that exists for boards, and it is declared compulsory with the same kind of arrangement for enforcement and to support its implementation. Between recruitment and onboarding, beyond which we then have continuing professional development. The word professionalization, we heard also from our alumni, without going into the dissecting of this meaning is limited or it could be misleading, it does evoke a connection with professional bodies. And you heard in one or at least 2 of these inputs made today about the work we do in collaboration with professional bodies. Again, not a once-off engagement. We've had a conversation, there's support. It has to be supported in a manner that eventually, amongst other things, as an example, leads to identification of which programs for which practitioners in the public service could be offered and sustained in, for example, earning of CPD points in endorsing of certain identified qualifications and other formal programs over and above what the NSG and provincial training institutes, academies may offer. Let me stop there. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor, for that extensive explanation. DPG, would you like to add on that? Is she here? Okay. It seems like the DDG is not here, and I don't see any more questions on the chat. On that note, I would like to extend the NSG sincere appreciation to the presenters. There are several takeaways from this session that will enrich our practices in different departments and entities. Executive leadership and management are crucial in driving the government's transformation agenda. As we have heard, all our speakers were emphasizing on that. And to the PSTF conversation participants, thank you very much for your continued support. We will see you again in our next annual PSTF in 2024. Thank you to everyone and goodbye.
It's such an honor for me.